I'd like to take a few moments and read you an excerpt from a book which I hope you might find of interest. The author is Joachim-Ernst Berendt, and the book is Nada Brahman, The World is Sound. This book has many, many interesting ideas, and it's great just to go through slowly and contemplate some of these things and see if they match up with any of your experience, or if they could expand you out into new experiences. So the excerpt I'm going to read concerns the cellist Pablo Casals, and I think it'll be self-explanatory once I read it here. This is page 133, Sound in the Belly. It is easy in the case of a wind instrument to envision the sound as coming from the player's belly, because a column of air moves directly through his body into the instrument. In the case of a string instrument, however, there is only a spiritual column. In fact, that column is the crucial one. Even if there's an actual column of air, the spiritual one is stronger. It was like meeting an old friend after many years when I read the following sentences in a book by the German psychologist and musician Sylvia Ostertag. Quote, "When I heard Pablo Casals play for the first time, something strange took place inside me. It was a master class at Zermatt, Switzerland. In each of the lessons, there were also participants who were there only as auditors. I was one of them, one of many. Casals was teaching, and I remember the moment when he took his bow and played a tone, one single tone. It certainly wasn't the case that I had been asleep up to that point, but in the moment when this tone was sounded, I felt as if I were waking up, violently and yet tenderly. It was as if this tone had reached an inner ear that hadn't existed before. It seemed as if this tone had gone through all heights and had struck me in my innermost self, a part of myself which I had been unaware of. And yet, this innermost self was more familiar to me than anything I knew of myself. Otherwise, I would not call it my innermost self. When the sound of the tone had died away, I found myself unsure for a moment whether Casals had really played it or whether the room had just become really quiet. If I wanted to describe it, it was a tone in which all tones were sounded and in which, at the same time, was all silence. It was many years ago that I heard Casals for the first time. Not only have I never forgotten that tone, but ever since that experience, I have been trying to become the kind of person who, through my hearing and my deeds, would open my entire life for the sake of this tone. Back then I experienced something that transcended the horizon of our rational understanding, something inconceivable, unconditional, something eternal, the tone in which all tones were sounded, the tone that contained all silence.